Hello, beautiful souls and beautiful friends. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me here. I know that this is a very crazy and shifting time in our history. In my opinion, the world is quantum leaping right now. And of course, we as light workers know that when you quantum leap, so much often falls away. So much feels like death and rebirth and intensity and confusion, and the things that we thought we knew all start to get clouded and muddy so that we can reassess and go through this portal of really and truly leaving the old mindsets and timelines behind, and leaping and jumping with faith into the new, into what we have been trying to manifest, but jumping and leaping there in a way that we don't exactly know what that's going to look like and how it's going to look like, and it's probably not going to immediately look like everything that we've been hoping and dreaming and praying about. That's why it's a leap. It's a leap of faith. Excuse me. That was definitely some throat chakra activity coming up there. Definitely also because a lot of us are not sure what to say. And I encourage you, when you're not sure what to say, absolutely by all means, take your breaks, take your rest, take your recharge. But try to say something and try to be self-loving enough, as opposed to self-loathing, self-loving enough to see that sometimes just saying something, no matter how simple, no matter how awkward, no matter how it may need to be reassessed and resaid later, just saying something says a lot. And as you can and as you are called, be open to learning more. One of my favorite people, Dr. Maya Angelou, taught me and so many of us that when you know better, you do better. And so many of us are learning to do better. Thank God, Goddess, Universe, everybody. This is a time when we are all being called to look at the things that have lied down in the subconscious of ourselves, of our families, of our governments, and of our subconscious collective for far too long. Every one of us have bias. People of color have shadeism bias, not just in the country of America. It absolutely happens all over the world. It is something that has been ingrained in us throughout history, wrongly so, but it still has been. And, I like to tie all things together. So there is Saturn activity happening astrologically right now. Saturn, of course, Big Daddy Karma. And this exact type of activity happened in the 90s with the Rodney King riots, and prior to that it happened in the 60s with the Civil Rights Movement riots, and that is purposeful. It is designed. Karmic cycles like this come up to give us a chance and an opportunity to pay our karmas and to move forward from them, paid up, balanced, learned, and healed. And like every lesson, we don't learn it in a linear way. We often learn it in a cyclical way where we spiral up and often get to come to a higher part of the lesson. But when we do that, there are still echoes of the earlier lessons and messages and hurts that come up to the surface and ask to be seen and heard and loved on and healed. And that, in my opinion, is what is trying to be done right now and what we can and should all be doing together. I really believe that we have the power to do that. Just being conscious of any place that you have a bias, any place that you have an insensitivity, a blind spot, no matter what color you are. This is important so that we heal it and we come together. Be aware of where you're carrying your ancestors or your family's wounds or fears or judgments or opinions or shame, and be willing to address it and clear it and no longer carry it or allow it to affect you or your behavior or your community or your light work on any level, consciously or subconsciously, because both can do damage and both can create and cause manifestations. And by us each doing this individually, doing this shadow work, doing this healing, doing this self-loving, it creates a powerhouse effect that, in my opinion, is more powerful than anything external we can do, because this is what empowers anything external that we do. It is my pleasure to do this kind of work in my healings that I do in my own practice and with clients, and how we do this with any of our subconscious patterning that is causing negative manifestations in our reality. And I truly believe this is the time that we can do that collectively. I would also say, please, please, please be aware. It can be so easy to go into the lower vibrational frequencies of hurt and fear and anguish and anger and rioting and rehashing the hurt and the pain onto others. And I understand that sometimes it does take some of that to be seen and be heard and to try to elicit change. No disrespect to anyone who is being called to act in that way, but in my perspective, and you can absolutely respectfully disagree with me, that's not really the way. Because by doing that for an extended period of time, we are keeping those energies of anger and of anguish and of fear alive and spreading, rather than by spreading the love and the understanding and the compassion and the healing that needs to happen at this time. And we'll all know, from each of our perspectives, we'll all get the hit from higher power when enough is enough of feeling our feelings of anger and fear and hurt and sadness and anguish, and when it's time to step out of that and into healing it. It's going to be a different process for everybody, because grieving is a different process for everybody. But I would hope that we can encourage each other to keep stepping to the higher and higher realities and stepping out of that lower vibrational frequency, because staying and miring in the hurt and the pain and the anger and the anguish and spreading it, in my opinion, is exactly what the people and energies and beings that feed off of this type of thing and try to use it for their own devices and for their own control and power mechanisms want. And that's why we're seeing some crazy things happening where people are exacerbating protests or planting things or just insane things. But it's important to be aware of that and to not be used. Don't let anyone use you or this energy or this time to distract from the purpose of healing and changing and coming together, for the better of everyone and for the equality and integrity and authenticity of everyone who is worthy of being loved and honored and equal and respected. And this is such a powerful time for us all to realize the ways that that's not been happening, consciously or subconsciously, and change it for the better. Thank you for joining me. Please share, like, comment, and subscribe. And contact me if you're drawn to light work with me personally, or if you think there's something else that I can do to help. And I encourage you and thank you for everything that you're doing in healing yourself and your communities and spreading your light in any and every way that you're called. There is no right or wrong way. Take your recharge. Do the other things in your life that feel and are called to be doing. All of that matters, and it all contributes towards the greater good. You are loved and you are worthy. Thank you for being here. Love, Danielle, #Damsel, @These Enlightened Edits.